numbers today, it's fantastic. If you have the masks and you feel comfortable, we know a lot of people don't have them because this event was meant to be outside today, but because of weather concerns and dangers with the tent that we had up as well with the winds, we brought it indoors. So I appreciate some people might not be comfortable, but if you have them, we'd appreciate if you use them. But, let's hope we enjoy the day anyway. So thanks very much for coming. Okay. A special thanks to our very special piper, Stuart McMillan, MSP, for piping us into the start of this event today. Before I invite Stuart to say a few words, it's my honour to be able to say thank you very much today to come along to this very special occasion. I should first of all, because we're indoors, let you know there are no fire drills planned for today. You'll see fire exits at the back and fire exits where you come in as well. For anyone needing to use the facilities, the toilet is just to the side of the front door there. So, as I said, thanks very much for coming along today, and also thank you to the people on the Facebook live stream today. As far as we're aware, and to the dogs, as far as we're aware, there are hopefully people on the live stream just now from Italy, from England, from Ireland, from Liechtenstein, from Bulgaria, from Greece, from Germany, from Georgia, from Sweden, Canada and the USA. So welcome to all of you as well. This whole event today, between here and then going outside later, we're going to have a march led by Stuart down to the unveiling. So the whole thing will probably take roughly an hour from now. I'm Lochiel, by the way. I'm one of the Wallace Hope project team within the Society of William Wallace. The project team, apart from myself, obviously, is Stuart Duncan, who is over there. We also have the two great instigators of this entire project, and that is the late, sadly, Sean Donnelly, and also led by Cha Halliday, who is there in his Andrew de Murray uniform. I've got to say, without Cha's energy and brilliant fundraising ideas, there'd be absolutely nothing to unveil today. So, I think a very merited round of applause for Cha and for Sean Donnelly. You'll see over there we have a merchandise table. If you can have a look at that after the speeches and the performers, please. There's a merchandise table. There's also a display of some medieval weaponry, but again, there's Nick there holding up an example of that. And some of the kids or some of the adults, if you want, you can come along, have a little play around with it. So have that after the event is over. So have a look at that stuff as well. There's membership forms for anybody who might be wanting to or interested in joining the Society of William Wallace, and you'll be very welcome if you come along to that as well. Okay, before we begin, on behalf of Cha and Stuart, we've had a lot of people to thank us on the way on this journey here today. The journey isn't over. This is only part of the Wallace Hope project. There's another part because we've got a chunk of tree with an embedded chain inside it that we've still got to do something with. That was supposedly going to be going on display through historic Scotland at Newark Castle, but unfortunately they've let us down big time. So at the moment that part of the project is still to continue. But I would like to thank at this particular point of stage everybody who has contributed, and you'll be permanently remembered on our Roll of Honour that's accessible on the Society's website and also through the Wallace Hope Project tab, and it's also available through the QR code that's on the soon-to-be unveiled information lectern down there. But thank yous, more thank yous from Stuart later on. But I should acknowledge, and I'm happy to acknowledge right now, the Society of William Wallace Committee and Margaret Halliday there for the support throughout this entire project. It's been invaluable to us. Now, I mentioned about Historic Environment Scotland letting us down, and one person was involved in that and knows exactly how badly we were let down, and he's been a very committed and active supporter of the Wallace Hope project for the last 7 years. Our first speaker, Inverclyde constituency MSP, Stuart McMillan.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Neil. I just want to say just a couple of quick words. I genuinely am so delighted to see so many people here today for what really is an incredible day for Port Glasgow, but a huge amount of effort has gone into today by, as Neil said, Neil, Stuart, Sean and Char. I've been involved with them throughout this journey for, as Neil said, for 7 years. There's been quite a lot of dialogue over that period of time. Most of it has been very friendly, very helpful. We have had some frustrations, as Neil touched upon with Historic Environment Scotland, but I'm not going to touch upon them today because this is about a positive day for the society, a positive day for Port Glasgow, and the unveiling today, I think, will actually, it'll be a very fitting tribute today to have Sean's wife do the honours later on this afternoon. But I genuinely want to say thank you to everyone who's been involved in this project. It really has been an incredible amount of time and effort, and you deserve a huge amount of praise and credit for that. Certainly as Char touched upon when I spoke to him briefly outside, he said from reading the book in 2013 to where we are today, it certainly has been a long journey in that short space of time, but it has been a long journey, lots of turns and lots of angst along the way, but you're here, you've done it, you've achieved something today, something really quite incredible. And I grew up here in Port Glasgow, and my cousin, who stayed in Brookfield Road, he was the first person who actually made me aware of the Wallace tree. So some 45 years ago, or 40 odd years ago anyway, when my cousin first told me to where we are today. So I genuinely want to say thank you to every single one of you who has been involved in this. Thank you for what you have done. Thank you for helping to tell the Wallace story and actually put Port Glasgow in the map with the Wallace story. So thank you very much to yourselves. Thank you to everyone for coming once again, and enjoy the day.
Thanks, Stuart. Well, following on a little bit from what Stuart said there, until a brief mention in David R. Ross's book On the Trail of William Wallace, beyond Port Glasgow, little if anything was known about the Wallace tree, the Wallace oak tree that stood here for 700 years, well over 700 years in fact, with people looking after it throughout that period of time and cherished by the locals of the area for those centuries. And it was that book that led Char and Sean successfully onto the trail of the Wallace oak remains, and that's why we're here today. But what was the context of apparently William Wallace being here on the 4th of August 1305? That's a long story, one that's way beyond the 5 minutes that I've got to do it. But to simplify things, I'd look at 2 dates only and some ramifications from those 2 dates. The first date, the 11th of September 1297. On that date, King Edward I of England, known as Longshanks, fully expected to wipe the Kingdom of Scotland off the map once and for all. He fully intended to annihilate the Scots at the Battle of Stirling Brig. He had the superior forces. His people, these armies, had already been occupying much of Scotland. They had already looted the treasures of Scotland, the historical documents, the artefacts. They had pillaged the villages and towns of Scotland. They had massacred people in some of those cities. Scotland at that time was on its knees. Scotland was gasping for breath at that point. The English armies came to Stirling Brig. They mustered a force that was so much superior to the Scots in every way that they thought that was the day for them. But against all the odds, the Scots, under the brilliant and superb leadership of William Wallace and Andrew de Murray, upset all the odds. They routed and humiliated the English army that day at Stirling Brig in a brilliantly conceived and executed tactical battle. Soon after that battle, as a consequence of the injuries he sustained there, Andrew de Murray sadly passed away. Longshanks then vowed he would get Wallace. He wanted vengeance against Wallace. He didn't want Wallace killed. He wanted Wallace captured because he wanted to relish Wallace getting that most agonising of deaths known as the traitor's death of being hung, drawn and quartered. But Wallace was no traitor. Wallace had no allegiance to Longshanks. Wallace was fighting for the Kingdom of Scotland and trying to repel the invader from Scotland. The second date, the 3rd of August, 1305. That was the date 8 years later that Wallace was finally captured at Rob Royston on the outskirts of Glasgow after being betrayed. But he wasn't captured by the English. He was captured by a Scot. He was captured by the men of the Earl of Menteith from Dumbarton Castle. He had been promised favours from Longshanks to capture Scotland's greatest hero at that time. From Dumbarton Castle, that's where Wallace spent the night, he was brought across the River Clyde to Westferry, just at Langbank type area. Then brought along the Roman road to where we will shortly be standing out there at the site of where the oak tree was. At that time, the oral tradition has it that Wallace was chained to an oak tree there. You can imagine he must have been in the greatest of despair at that point in his life. The English troops came and took him from Menteith's men and took him down to Westminster Hall in London for a sham trial, and then on to be hung, drawn and quartered in front of a baying crowd at a fair, the centre point of a fair at Smithfield in London. By that agonising death, Wallace was not supposed to just end his life in this earth. The feelings, the thoughts at that time was that by taking apart his body in such a manner, he would be unable to rise to eternal life. So Wallace, being at that oak tree out there, how on earth could he possibly think that here we are, 716 years later, we are commemorating him being at that tree and him living on in the hearts of many Scots and people throughout this world. So, Longshanks, you failed. You failed big time. In finishing, I want you just to think about this. That site out there, that was the last place in Scotland that William Wallace's body touched the soil of this country before being handed over to English troops. That's the history of that spot. That's where you'll shortly be standing. And by all of us being here today, commemorating, connecting through the centuries, I think this is a very special day for Port Glasgow, a special day for all of us, and I think today is a special day for William Wallace, because with this memorial, we are moving this place from being a place of despair, historical despair, to something completely different. We are changing it into a place where there is remembrance of Wallace, where there's respect for the people who looked after this tree and protected it for 700 years. And it's a place of gratitude to Sir William Wallace in 2021. And we are all delighted that you have come out here to share in this today and to support it. So thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Some of you may know that part of the fundraising activities we had was a limited edition Wallace Oak bundle. And two people were instrumental in the success of that Wallace Oak. One was Stephen Hughes. Stephen is, where is he? Oh, he's down there. Right. Stephen has a company, Freedom Tour Today, that does battlefield walks at Bannockburn and Stirling Brig. And he donated 50 of those walks towards this bundle. There's leaflets over there about those walks. Talk to Stephen about it. There's great walks. He does it with his dog Molly. And we highly recommend those. We also had 50 CDs donated to us by our next person in front of the microphone. and we're grateful for that as well. And Alistair has some merchandise over there as well, where some of the songs that you'll be singing today are on. Yes, they are on there. So please avail yourself of those when you're looking at the merchandise table as well. I'd like to introduce him as the legendary, but he doesn't like me using that word. He likes me using veteran. But to me, please welcome the legendary Alistair MacDonald.